Welcome to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD, Word on the Weekend, sponsored by Solia.
I am your host, Laura Gaines, and we are on the air every Sunday from 12 to 1 following Reverend Louise Bishop's program. You can also find us online at www.900amwurd and in the community. My co-host is Michael Ledbetter, and each week we'll bring clarity to the complex discussion on health and environment. We encourage clean living from the inside out. A centerpiece of this is maintaining a healthy lifestyle and getting informed about the connection between good health and what is happening in the world around you.
This includes what you consume, what you wear, what products you use on your body, how you clean your home, what you drive, what you purchase, the decisions you make every day.
Today on the Green Hour, we have a very important conversation with our guest, Russ Tanner, who is the founder of Global Skywatch. We will be discussing chemtrails, and Russ, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's see, where do we start? You are the founder of an organization that based in Maine that monitors something called chemtrails. I mean, if you could share with us briefly what is a chemtrail and then what your organization's mission is.
Sure. Chemtrail is those white lines you see in the sky. If you go outside and you see these jets emitting these white lines and they travel across the sky, that's a chemtrail. Our mission is to raise awareness about chemtrails and the damage that they are doing to everything, humans, animals, the environment. And once we raise this awareness, we want legislation to be passed to put an end to it.
Right, exactly. I mean, actually, if you look out your window, I'm looking here at the studio sky, there are chemtrails. They look like contrails out of planes, but they don't dissipate. And they're all over the sky right now. So Russ, what exactly, tell me about your mission and what prompted you to create this organization, Global Skywatch?
Well, what happened to me is it was very personal because I lived in Jamestown, New York in 2005. And one day in November, I looked out the window, and I work from home, and I have a view of the whole sky from my window, and I could see the whole town. One day, I've always been a sky watcher all my life. I have always been interested in rockets and jet technology and all this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But one day, I suddenly started seeing all of these jets fly back and forth across the sky, leaving these trails, which I'd never seen before. And within about 20 minutes, I started tasting metallic taste in the air, and I started, my sinuses started burning, and then I started having a whole set of symptoms that became so serious that I wasn't really able to work very effectively. And there were times when I had a couple employees at the time, I had to cancel meetings with them and stuff because I couldn't focus, and I felt so horrible from it. So that's when it all began for me, because I immediately knew that something was wrong, because I've watched the sky for over 30 years, and I've always paid attention to jet technology and rocket technology. It's something I've always been interested in. I knew something was wrong right from the beginning.
Wow.
Can you tell us what you told us the effects that you experienced? What are some of the other effects on people, animals, plants, and whatever other organisms?
Well, with people, people frequently get headaches. I'm in touch with a lot of people. I have some Facebook groups, and plus I have people write and call me all the time about this issue. So over the years, I've spoken with a lot of people. And very similar symptoms. A lot of people have headaches, general fatigue, nausea, dizziness, muscle and joint pain, tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears, bruxism, which is grinding your teeth, especially when you sleep. Some people, small percentage of people, but people like me can taste the salty metallic or sometimes the chemical or sulfur taste in the air. You can get itchy skin, dark circles under your eyes, brain fog and looping thoughts, insomnia, moodiness, and chronic immune suppression, which makes you susceptible to frequent illness. Animals have been having a lot of problems in the last couple of years. For those who have been paying attention, there have been hundreds of animal die-offs all over the countries that have been being sprayed. We've had birds falling out of the air. We've had insects dying off. I personally witnessed 2 die-offs. I witnessed the ladybug die-off. We had a large ladybug colony here with hundreds of ladybugs. It's been here for decades. Suddenly, during 3 days of heavy spraying, the whole colony died. Every single ladybug died. When I was in Jamestown, they started the daily spraying in November of 2005. There was a little bit before that, but that summer, you used to be able to go outside, and there were so many bees. Western New York is very lush, gets a lot of rainfall, lake effect snow from Lake Erie, and there were just thousands of bees. In fact, you couldn't go outside barefoot because you would end up getting stung. That summer, after the spraying began in 2005, you couldn't find a bee. So the bees just were gone. We had a lot of trouble finding bees. Up here in Maine, we have bats getting what they call white nose disease, and they're experiencing chronic immune suppression. We have a huge chelation is decreased. They're not giving birth. The deer are sterile. Plants, when they're in high aluminum soil, their growth is stunted. Several places, especially out in California, like Mount Shasta, they're having trees getting white bark syndrome, where the bark turns white and the trees die, and they test the bark, and it's loaded with aluminum. So there's a lot going on.
So Russ, how are these incidences traced to chemtrails? How can you be sure that these are the effects of these things that are in the sky right now?
Well, I think it's a reasonable conclusion. We don't have any incidences in history where we've seen aluminum increasing across the board throughout the country, or being found in plants and animals rising, or water supplies. We have people who have done water tests, rainwater tests. I did a rainwater test and a dust test. I just did that last month, and had huge amounts of aluminum in the dust and several other things. And so it just, it just makes sense. I mean, when you have all these metals that do not occur, naturally in their purified form, you don't have barium levels just rising for no reason in the soil or in people's blood. I've got calls from a lot of people who had blood tests, had metal panels done, and their barium levels are skyrocketing. So, it's something that I think is just a pretty logical conclusion.
Right.
Russ, how long have you been tracking these chemtrails? How long have they been doing this?
Well, they've been doing this since Vietnam. Vietnam, they actually sprayed chemicals to defoil the land. They sprayed chemicals to harm and kill people. And they've been doing testing. There have been testing, which has been even televised. They've even talked about it in the 80s. There was testing where they sprayed and released chemicals in San Francisco, in the UK. They've done it. They've done it in a number of places. Chemical testing is not really very common. There's many incidents of it in the not too distant history. But so it's been going on a long time. But what happened in 2005 is the government started allocating huge amounts of dollars. $996 million were allocated for what are called aircraft services. And that's the year, it seems, that the majority of people suddenly, including me, started seeing this activity in the sky.
So, Russ, what is the stated purpose or the official purpose of this activity? It can't be to poison us. So what's the stated intent?
Well, there is no stated intent because they deny that it's going on. In fact, and this is really where it gets, the story gets kind of dark, is that the government denies that there is any such activity. They say, there's a little bit of weather experimentation over here and a little bit over there. But, there's these chemtrails they're trying to say is just normal water vapor that comes out of jets. Now, I have a problem with that because I watched the sky for 30 years, and I have never. I've driven to 4 corners of the United States multiple times. I've flown all over all my life. I've flown to Hawaii. I've always been a sky watcher. I took flight training years ago. My family had 2 airplanes, and I could go on and on. Bottom line, I've lived on military bases and lived not in. I grew up in Tampa, near Tampa, Florida, which is one of the heaviest traveled airspaces in the world. And I have never, in all of those years, seen a single trail come out of any jet anywhere at any time. Today, 49 out of 50 jets I see have trails. And
So-
those 49 jets are unmarked. We're not talking about typical commercial jets.
That's what I was going to ask you. So these are not commercial jets. These are other types of carriers that are just carrying these chemicals?
Well, they're unmarked silver jets, which obviously the only explanation is they must be military, because the military has a large fleet of tanker jets, and those tanker jets are Boeing, like 767s, 747s, DC, DC-9s, I think they use, and they've converted them for military use, and that's what we see. But they're silver and they're unmarked. So the only people who would have access to the skies have the hardware to carry out such a mission and the money to manufacture the materials that are being dropped that I smell and taste and cause my health to suffer from day to day would be the military.
Right.
So Russ, wow, this is profound. You're saying that there are unmarked planes dropping chemicals over major cities, and people are getting sick from it. What's actually in this chemtrail?
Well, from all of the water tests, the dust tests, the rainwater tests, here's the patterns we are seeing. We're seeing spikes in aluminum. We're seeing spikes in barium. We're seeing spikes in strontium. We're seeing spikes in mercury. And in some areas, we've seen spikes in other metals, such as lead, iron. Those are most of them. We've seen some other spikes here and there, but across the board, it seems like the largest, most universal spikes that we see are barium, aluminum, strontium, and mercury.
Okay. Wow. I just want to add, we have Dr. Paul joining us in the studio today. Welcome, Dr. Paul.
Hey, family. How are you? This is another amazing show. Thank you for the music. Yeah, but we're live and in color today.
Yes, and Russ is really giving us information.
And Russ, I have to say thank you so much for coming through. It is incredible that you're making people aware and for your cause of what is going on, and even what a perfect day to show an example to the people. Just look out your window. That's all you got to do. Look out your window and you see the streams going across the skies, and this has been going on for a long time, so there's a lot to be talking about. Absolutely. And definitely I have some questions for you, Russ.
Absolutely. We're so glad to have Dr. Paul here with us, because as we comply with the word mandate, we are here to provide not just information but also solutions. So we really appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Russ, so this is an unauthorized so not a public initiative. What happens when people complain, or people like yourselves bring this to the attention of politicians or those powers that be?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people. I can tell you first what happened with me is during the big assault we had a couple of years ago when the whole ladybug colony collapsed in 3 days, I called. I had to have a wet washcloth over my mouth because it was just burning my sinuses so badly. And I'm more sensitive than most people, so most people don't experience this. But there's about 2 to 4% of the population that actually do experience this. I called the head of the Maine Department Bureau of Air Quality and had a 40-minute conversation with him, and I had a 40-minute conversation with another person who was one of his officers, who were very interested. The initial conversation was very pleasing and very professional and very positive, and they were very interested in what I was saying. And then as I waited for a follow-up, and then I finally contacted them and saying, where can we move forward? Can we do testing? What can we do? Suddenly the tone had suddenly changed, and they had no interest and didn't return phone calls anymore after that. And I had lost contact with them. I sent them a lot of materials, video and time-lapse photography and technical information to help them become introduced. This is pretty much the same reaction we're getting from a lot of other people that I know who have talked to state officials, and they're just either saying, oh, those are just water vapor contrails, which I know isn't true because I can smell and taste them along with a lot of other people I have contact with. and they're getting the same type of reaction. Unfortunately, the officials just really don't know how to deal with this.
Wow. And Russ, I just have a quick question for you. And this is definitely, as I was coming in, I heard you speaking that this is not just in the United States. This is Europe. This is Canada. This is all over the world. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had contact with, and we have pictures from most of the Western European countries, Canada, South America, Ecuador, Holland, Denmark, UK, Scotland, Ireland. All these countries are getting hit. The UK, England, getting hit really, really hard. Many parts of the United States, Philadelphia, getting hit really, really hard. San Francisco, Arizona, Phoenix, Texas, all over. Yep.
Yeah. And so amazing that we're sitting in the studio right now, and right across the top of the studio is one of the largest ones I've seen in a long time, and it's kind of low.
That's right. It sure is.
It's kind of low. So I wanted to also ask you one thing. Now, you said some of the things that were in there, and I've been a researcher of the chemtrails for a long time myself, Russ, but it is a pleasure to meet someone who's a real advocate of it. Some of the things that we talked about was like cadmium and the chromium, the nickel, and you mentioned the aluminum, but also some of that barium. That barium is so dangerous. And when you're talking about what they've been finding it at rates of up to 278 times the toxic limit, which is amazing. So these things are really what's in our atmosphere, and that's going into your body, into the water, into the soils. And these are the things that we really got to talk about.
What are some of the symptoms you would see in the community by these chemtrails being dropped on people?
Are you asking Dr. Paul?
Yes, Dr. Paul. I mean, what would happen?
Well, absolutely. It's the body, the chronic conditions. One thing that I sort of want to even throw this out there to Russ a little bit. I've noticed the bronchial situations. Me in the naturopath field, I see a lot of bronchial problems more than anything. People having issues with lung conditions. People having breathing problems. More PAP machines than ever right now because people can't sleep. These a lot of things are going on in the bloodstream because when that chem gets in your system, it goes right into the blood, and it also starts affecting the liver because that's the purifier. That's your nuclear reactor of the body, and it's purifying before I give it to the body. I'm going to purify this. So people have liver problems. You're going to have issues with hypothyroidism, which means that the body's voltage regulation is going up and down. Hot sweats. People just can't cool down. A lot of women are experiencing that right now. So these are things that are all imbalanced issues. But there is hope, though. And the hope is that when you start to balance the body out, this affects already systems that are already inflamed. So if you are not inflamed, which means your pH is high, you're eating right, you're detoxing, you're juicing, you're doing the proper things naturally, you can counteract a lot of the toxins that are in the system, but still there's a major awareness to that.
Right. Let me ask, are there any other organizations, Russ, that verify that these chemtrails are in fact what we're talking about?
Well, there's a lot of activity about this in many of the states. Long Island, there's a group called Long Island Skywatch that's making a lot of progress in Long Island, New York, where they had a public hearing a few months ago. They had 100 people show up and give nice heated speeches to the local panel of the officials there. And they're trying to pass a resolution there to get it illegal over their airspace. And they've got the ear of some of the officials out in California, in the Mount Shasta area, that's been hit really, really hard. They've got, from what I understand, I haven't spoken personally to them, but I've heard from them indirectly that they have a lawsuit where they're trying to get the state to outlaw the spraying. Hawaii, same type of thing. They've got a lot of political activity going on in Hawaii because Hawaii is, very agricultural. A lot of people don't think of it that way, but there's a lot of important agriculture that they grow even for themselves. But they are trying to get the spraying outlawed over there too. So there's a lot of activity, and this is if you look online, you'll probably find well over 100 websites, fully functional websites with forums and online information covering this subject.
Right. All right. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and we'll be back with the Green Hour with our guest, Russ Tanner.
Are you beginning the new year with more credit card debt than you can afford? If you find yourself with $10,000 or more in credit card debt, get the facts about legitimate debt relief solutions available to you. Call American Credit Card Solutions for a free informational kit. You can get answers to your debt problems in simple, easy to understand language. The kit is free, the shipping is free, and the consultation is free. Call now, 800-648-4545. There's no hard sell, no pressure. This free debt relief informational kit can be mailed to you today. Examine all the debt relief options available with no one pressuring you to make a quick decision. Call now for your free debt relief kit. Call 800-648-4545. This is a first-come, first-serve offer, so call right now for your free debt relief kit. Call 800-648-4545. That's 800-648-4545.
Sure, humans can be a little weird at times, but take it from me, I'm a dog. And a person is about the best thing that can happen to a shelter pet. So if you want to learn how you can be that person, get down to your local pet shelter or visit theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD, Word on the Weekend, sponsored by Solia. And now your host, Laura Gaines.
Thank you. We are back on the Green Hour with Russ Tanner, our guest, and we have Dr. Paul here because this is such a sensitive subject. We really wanted to have Dr. Paul here to give that love with this enlightenment, as Coker calls it. So we are taking phone calls, locally 215-634-8065, and toll free 1-866-361-0900.
Russ, I have a question for you. If in fact the government is allowing this to take place, is there some military relationship between dropping these chemtrails and technology used to control weather? Is there some correlation?
There's a lot of evidence that says that there is. There's a device called HAARP, which is a high-frequency auroral research project, active auroral research project. Now, not everybody's heard of this, but this is a device that transmits high-frequency electromagnetic signals into the ionosphere and can bounce those signals around the Earth. And the stated claim of use for it is for experimentation of the atmosphere. The funny thing is that a few years ago they used to say things on their website, and the patents for this device, which is a large device that's located in Alaska, and there's a good dozen and a half other devices similar to it around the world in other countries, that can induce earthquakes. This is not me saying this. This came off their website. It's not on their website anymore, but it was. And also have profound weather effects like steering the jet stream in the United States.
Wow.
So what happens with HAARP is you want to ionize the atmosphere, which means you want to put a particle in there that makes the electromagnetic waves travel more efficiently. So there's been a lot of speculation that the chemtrail project may have more than one purpose. I think that it does personally, and that part of it may be related to making the atmosphere work as waveguides, as they're called. They're virtual waveguides, and carrying the electromagnetic energy from these research facilities that transmit millions of watts of electromagnetic energy along these sprayed chemtrail lines in the atmosphere. So it's one of the theories out there.
Okay, we have two callers on the line. The first caller, Miss Charlie from Germantown.
Yes.
Welcome to the Green Hour.
Hello?
Welcome to the Green Hour, Miss Charlie.
Hello, Miss Charlie.
I'm a frequent listener, first-time caller. But I am so glad someone is addressing this issue because I have been watching these chemtrails for years. I tell everyone that I can convince, just look up.
Exactly.
Just look up now and again.
Yeah, just look up.
Because water vapor, when it's sprayed, starts to dissipate almost immediately. These things don't dissipate, they get wider.
Right.
You look up when they're first sprayed, they're they're tiny. but you look up again and it's 10 times as wide.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
I wanted to ask Russ, do you think wearing masks would help?
Thank
Well,
you,
here's the
Miss
thing.
Charlie.
Here's the thing. The particles that are being sprayed, I believe, are submicron particles. They're smaller than 0.3 microns. What this means is they go right through a typical HEPA filter.
Wow.
I've confirmed this. I've purchased $3,000 in air filtration equipment in the last few years, trying to find an air filter that will remove this stuff from the air, and pretty much none of them work because they all use HEPA filtration. I ended up building a device that it was made out of sprinklers, misting sprinklers in a large container, and I would blow air through it because I noticed when I was in the shower, it was much less severe. So water helped remove it from the air. So that's what I ended up doing. What I do now, and I did this right before I came on the air for the show, is I actually wet a washcloth and put a few drops of peppermint oil on it, and I breathe through a wet washcloth, and I actually do that most of the time throughout the day, every day of my life right now. Otherwise, my sinuses burn, and the taste is horrible to me, just is nauseous.
Thank you for that answer, Russ. Thank you for the question, Miss Charlie. And we have DW on the line from Mount Airy.
Good morning.
DW?
This question is for Dr. Paul.
Yes.
It's scary what I'm hearing on the radio. Dr. Paul, I would like to have your phone number.
Okay, sure. That's 215 area code 779 7355.
7355?
Yes, that is. That's
and
correct.
this is Herb Wood's sister. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, hello. How are you? It
I'm
is
fine.
a pleasure to hear you. Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you for calling in. Definitely.
right.
Yes.
Thank you, DW.
Thank you.
And we have Al from Northwest Arizona. Al?
Hi, this is Al DeChico. I'm out in Northwest Arizona,
Okay.
and I had some testing done on rainwater and my blood after watching What in the World Are They Spraying, and it wasn't good. I have elevated aluminum, barium, and strontium in my blood as well as in the rainwater, and we're putting together a lawsuit. We have about 850 people. Anybody that wants to go on Facebook, just look for chemtrail geoengineering lawsuit.
Chemtrail geoengineering lawsuit on Facebook. Okay.
Yeah, there should be,
Great.
millions of us because
Right.
this is affecting millions, as you know.
Yes.
And, a lot of people think, oh, it's no problem, I feel fine. Well, people may feel fine, but that doesn't mean they don't have toxicity in their blood.
Exactly.
And it hits home when you don't feel good, you find out you have this in your blood, and it correlates to some of the problems you're having.
Exactly. Al, thank you for calling.
Yeah, and thank you for having a show on this. It's well needed, and I hope we can get more people to organize so that we can sue somebody, because it seems to be the one way that we might be able to get some action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to talk a little bit later. I think Russ has a website page with as long as my arm about things we can do to get involved.
Yes.
I wanted to ask the caller, Al, used the word geoengineering. Russ, can you talk about that for a moment?
Yes, geoengineering is being talked about in seminars and conferences all over the world right now. These are sponsored largely by organizations like the United Nations and other foundations that are talking about using geoengineering to offset global warming. Now, they're saying that they want to spray 20 million to 30 million tons of powdered aluminum into the atmosphere so that it reflects sunlight away from the Earth. Now, the thing that they talk about in the movie What in the World Are They Spraying that the caller just made reference to, which everyone should see,
Right.
Yes.
they made reference to the fact that they're talking about doing this geoengineering in the future, but yet we're seeing them do it right now. And what we believe is happening is this is called a disinformation technique, is you tell people, hey, we're thinking about doing something in the future, while you're actually
Right.
doing it right now and
Yes.
trying to convince everybody that the big lines in the sky are just water vapor and
Yeah.
they're harmless.
Absolutely.
So we feel that this really is a disinformation campaign that's being put on by the government and in cooperation with the United Nations in order to convince people that geoengineering is good, but it's not going on yet.
Absolutely. Yes. One thing I want to talk about also, when we talked about, you had the question about whether this was government actually implemented or what was going on. Is the government aware of this and what's happening? Well, I looked at the technology, and the technology itself goes back to the technology itself goes back to Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, Nikola
Tesla, who talked about a lot of the, the HARP machines and how the concepts of actually making the Earth into a tuning fork. So with that, you can manipulate a lot of different things, and this is why I want to say this to the family, to do your own research. Start researching and knowing that a lot of this understanding and information was given to us by a brother whose name was Scandinavian, and his name was Nikola Tesla. He was Scandinavian, and some of his most profound inventions are used every day, including that coil in the back of your refrigerator. I think it was the coil in the back of the refrigerator, Nikola Tesla.
Interesting.
So he did a lot of incredible experiments, and he actually brought that information to us. So this is very sound knowledge. This is actually technology at its works.
When I used to hear about the chemtrails, they always used to say, well, this is a conspiracy, and they used to, discount it. But after looking at all of these chemtrails and hearing all this information and looking up in the sky, this is not a conspiracy. This is fact. They're actually dropping chemicals on us.
Yeah. We're sitting here, and there's 3 planes went right by us as we're sitting here and dropping chemicals.
Exactly. Okay, we have another caller. We have Rudy from Trenton, New Jersey. Rudy, welcome.
Good afternoon. I would like to ask the doctor, what do you do for excessive hunger and weakness in my body? And I'm still taking certain amount of supplements, and I haven't seen any result.
Okay, what was you said you were taking what supplement?
I take certain like CoQ10, folic acid, green tea, vitamin D3, magnesium, vitamin C.
Okay, just in general, I don't want to steer away too much from our topic today, but what we definitely are talking about is I'm going to correlate this into what exactly some of these chemicals are causing. People have problems with energy and issues that go back to the blood. When you have dirty blood, these are the issues that you have: fatigue, imbalances with the organs, the liver having problems, the thyroid, the parathyroid, thymus, pineal gland. All of these organs are out of balance, and issues of not having enough energy. That's a very common thing amongst the people now that are coming through to get assessments done. They're saying, I just don't have any energy. Right. Dirty blood. Wow. So what we have to do is start going into, I would recommend one called Pal Diarco. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, we really need to start giving some solutions as well. But
absolutely.
Please, Dr. Paul.
Absolutely. I really want to go into that.
I think...
Okay.
One of the things also, the chemtrails get sprayed, and then all of a sudden it comes down to the earth. Then it goes into the soil and to our fruits and our vegetables, the animals, which are then eaten. It seems like it's just a chain reaction of things that are taking place. Russ, have you found any information of it affecting the food that we eat, the soil, the quality of soil?
Is that for me?
Yes, Russ.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I called the state of Maine, the head of the Bureau of Air Quality, and had a 40-minute conversation with him, I asked him, I said, do you know anything about rising aluminum soil levels? And he said, oh, yeah, absolutely. And he went on to give 3 or 4 explanations, scientific explanations about it might be groundwater conversion of this, and maybe this is why it's happening, and maybe it's that. Well, when you have elevated aluminum, it changes the pH of the soil. You're going to stunt the growth of plants. You can kill trees. In fact, trees are dying in Mount Shasta and other areas in California. I spoke to people in California who are witnessing a mass die-off of plants and trees. You make sterile, like a mercury. If people are exposed to mercury, it can sterilize you and animals. And so we have a very low deer population in Maine. We have other animal populations falling. And, of course, systemically in humans, once you get those things in humans, like Dr. Paul said, you're going to, block thyroid, block T3 production. You're going to block your other good minerals like selenium and zinc and magnesium, and just cause a whole slurry of problems with the entire food supply. Everything will be affected.
Wow.
Right. Russ and Dr. Paul, we have two more callers. We've got Hannibal from North Philadelphia. Welcome, Hannibal.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you for calling.
I do believe in some conspiracy theories, some of them, not all of them, some of them. But one of the questions and concerns I always had in reading this literature as a young man, the conspirators, in their effort to destroy the earth, I mean, they're knowledgeable people to really develop this whole thing. Don't they know that they're killing themselves too? What is the purpose of this? They never told me that. Well, what is the purpose of this?
Great question, Hannibal. Thank you. Russ?
Well, here's where it gets a little bit dark, like I mentioned earlier, is that if you go back to the Rio Summit in 1992, 1993, you have a group of organizations sponsored along UN with other organizations that came out with what's called Agenda 21. And Agenda 21 is a big comprehensive plan, which is where we get the word today, sustainability. That's why that word has been popularized and that concept has been popularized from Agenda 21. Well, the idea of sustainability is a great idea. The problem with it is that it includes, in their own literature, it includes depopulation of the earth, of humans. And in fact, they provide, and this is not me making this up, this is what they said, and they even provide maps showing that large portions of the United States will be off limits to humans, and humans must be confined to certain city areas, and they will not be allowed to travel to the majority of the United States into the wilderness because of fear that it will destroy or harm the ecosystem. And the only way to accomplish that, according to them, again, not my words, their words, is by depopulation. So this gets dark, and it gets into a strange mindset of these people, but having studied this for a long time, it's more information than you can fit in an hour show.
Exactly.
But
yes.
This might be part one.
It's very real.
This might be part one.
There are people in high positions who believe in this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that answer, Russ. I believe we have to take a break. We have two callers on the line. We're taking a break, Hayden? Brief commercial break. We'll be right back with Russ Tanner, Dr. Paul, and myself and Michael on the Green Hour. Thank you.
100 AM WURD for our next Word Speaks event on Saturday, April 7th at the Black History and Culture Showcase from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. By popular demand, we will again explore the impact of race, culture, and history on the body, mind, and spirit. Titled State of Mind 2, this powerful program will feature some of the nation's most prolific voices on behavioral health and emotional well-being, including Dr. Thurman Evans, author of From Purpose to Promise-Driven Life, Dr. Joy DeGruy, author of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, Ruth King, author of Healing Rage, and Dr. Robin Smith, author of Lies at the Altar. While the Black History and Culture Showcase is free and open to the public, 900 AM State of Mind 2 is a ticketed event. Tickets are available for $12 at www.900amwurd.com and at the Word Studios, 1341 North Delaware Avenue, Suite 300 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. State of Mind 2 is presented by Universal Companies and sponsored by Pico, Comcast NBC 10, and Sugar House Casino.
Attention parents and guardians, now is the time to register for kindergarten. The School District of Philadelphia will be registering children for kindergarten from January 23rd, 2012 until May 31st, 2012 at neighborhood elementary schools. Your child must be 5 years old by September 1st, 2012 to register. You need ID such as a current driver's license, non-driver's license, or valid federal, state, or municipal employment ID, your child's birth certificate, up-to-date shot records, and current proof of address in the parent's or legal guardian's name. You must register your child at your neighborhood school. For more information, please contact the school by calling 215-400-4270. That's 215-400-4270. You can begin the process now by scheduling a doctor's appointment and gathering all documents. It is recommended that you contact your neighborhood school to obtain hours for registration. Remember, kindergarten registration is from January 23rd to May 31st, 2012.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Green Hour on 900 AM WURD. Word on the Weekend, sponsored by Solia. And now your host, Laura Gaines.
Thank you and welcome back to the Green Hour. Our guest is Russ Tanner, and we have Dr. Paul here in the station. We have callers calling lined up on the runway here. We have Sonia from West Philadelphia. Sonia?
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in. I'm so delighted in what you guys are talking about because I do believe I'm injured from this spraying from the sky. And I was able to see a couple of times in the wee hours of night when I would come home from work, a slick helicopter light with a low hum, and it had US.S military. And the rumor was that, you know, how they were spraying us. And I heard of the chemtrails, but in the city they would use this method in spraying you. And it had two propellers. And I remember looking up saying, I know you ain't spraying me, but honey, in January 9th, 2000, we came down in my area very ill. And I ended up in diabetes. And my medical doctors just were, and nurses just kept coming in my room in the hospital, and they kept saying, whatever you were using to sustain yourself, you just keep right on using.
Right.
And I had a doctor like 6 in the morning come to me, one of the main doctors, and he said it was a virus. Whatever they were spraying, it got entrapped in you and caused a backup because I had that patch of blood and whatever it is, you know, that couldn't go to place the sugar right in my system. So they thought it was going to be with, they said, my generation of people, MS. Mm-hmm. But it ended up as diabetes. And the gentleman that also had it around my way, well, he ended up passing because they said night workers, you can't work at night no more. And it was, all the stuff was so strange and bizarre to me.
Sonia, thank you so much. I don't mean to cut you off, but we have two other callers.
Could y'all give out the phone numbers? I would like to keep up with the rest of the folk on this.
Sure. Well, the website that we're talking, Russ Tanner's website is globalskywatch.com. Uh-huh. Dr. Paul's number is
215-779-7355.
And our number is 877-206-1550. Let me get Mike from North Philadelphia. And Mike, I'm going to ask you if you could be concise with your question. Welcome to the Green Hour.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
I was listening to the program. I am fully aware of the chemtrails that's going on. I've been knowing about it for years. You just mentioned something about Agenda 21. My question is the Agenda 21 has anything to do with the term Codex Alimentarius that's supposed to have went into effect starting December 9th, I believe, of 2009.
Thank you, Mike. Russ?
Yeah, Codex Alimentarius is a food code that went, I believe, at least partially into effect in Europe. They've been trying to do what's called harmonization in the United States, where they get the laws of the United States to harmonize with it, but there have been so many passionate alternative practitioners that have objected that they have yet to get it through, which is a good thing. So Agenda 21 I don't think is directly related, but I do think they're both being pushed by the same people.
Thank you so much, Russ. Thank you, Mike. We have Mark from Elkins Park.
Hello, and hello to your guest.
Welcome.
Hi. I was just wondering, is it possible that particles that are coming down have anything to do with the large amounts of birds in every state that have been dying every year?
Russ, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Mark.
Okay,
yeah, thank you. Yeah, good question, Mike. I think that it absolutely does. Like I said a little earlier, we have deer, very low deer population in Maine, and of course all the local radio personalities are scratching their heads saying, well, we don't know what's going on, but something's happening. Birds falling out of the sky, fish, animals dying everywhere, insect die-offs. Biologists have reported that insect rates are down from 1,000 per unit of space to 30. So, you can watch this in the movie What in the World Are They Spraying? So, yes, I absolutely believe it's related. I personally saw a bee die-off. I personally saw ladybug colony die-off during 3 days of intense spraying. So I'm absolutely convinced.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Russ. Thank you, Mark, for calling. I want to spend some time talking about solutions. First of all, Russ, if you can give us, you have a website with a lot of things we can do to get involved to fight this chemtrail issue. If you could share that, and then I want to talk to Dr. Paul about some of the things we can do relative to our health to protect ourselves. Russ?
Yep, absolutely. The website is globalskywatch.com. That's globalskywatch.com. And we have all kinds of information on there that you can educate yourself about this issue, what it's all about, and what to do about it.
You say we can, you give resources to email, flyers, every type of medium. You really explain that on your website. So I really encourage people to go there and get involved. And like they're doing in Arizona, they're really, banding together and activating something to deal with this. And Dr. Paul, let's talk about some solutions, how we protect ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about solutions because, again, this is affecting more people that have already inflamed systems because of what they're eating. So now you have the double threat or triple threat or a quadruple threat that's going on inside of people. We're actually walking around like a crisis state, like a time bomb. So what's happening is, what do we do? We have to, number one, we talk about here on the Green Hour, the pH level. Because with the pH level being raised by you eating fresh organic fruits and vegetables as opposed to genetically modified, that's going to make the difference. It's hard to make an inflamed area when you are already pH balanced. It's hard for sickness and disease to proliferate. Some of the herbs, that's why we take the herbs, like I mentioned, the pau d'arco to clean the blood. Of course, we got to say that, this is not to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases, but just food for the body, family. But we have things like cleavers. We have chaparral. We have bloodroot.
These are all herbs?
These are all herbs. Golden seal. We talk about golden seal all the time, but then you also have one called goldenrod. These are all herbs that are actually specifically for helping to detox the blood, the liver, or whenever you talk about the liver, you got to talk about the blood. Stone root. These are herbs, and there's across the board, there's many, many herbs that can help you. We talked about the mullein. The mullein was specifically for pneumonia. And I truly believe, Russ, and you can back me up on this, when you have issues with the bronchial system and with the lungs, I can tell you, I haven't done the research, but I would best believe that the level of what's called, the procedure is called pneumothorax, which means collapsed lung, has raised in just the last 5 years. Wow. Where people's lungs are just collapsing. I say I was a victim of that myself, where no chronic diseases or anything, but I was traveling back and forth from here to California, and I was studying at Stanford University. So what happened, when I came back one time, I got sick, and I didn't know why. They didn't know why. but I knew I had been exposed to something. And I didn't, whatever that was, when I finally got the true nature of what it was, I had to go to the cellular level. It was like I was exposed to something. And that was the exact terms that were told to me. So therefore, what did I do? As a testimony myself, I cleaned my blood. Simple as that. When I cleaned the blood, then things cleared out. My mind cleared out. My everything cleared out. Skin, everything.
Interesting. We have our last caller. We have Rafiq from North Philadelphia. Rafiq?
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yes. Hello, first.
Yes, this is a very interesting program, but I have a question for Russ. We had the bird flu a couple of years ago. Can that be connected to the chemtrails?
I don't know if it's directly connected to chemtrails, but I will tell you this. In our area, they every 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so, they spray for several days something different. It tastes different, and it burns my sinuses, and it gives me a sore throat. And for the next 3 weeks, everybody's sick, and the pediatricians are backed up for the 3 following weeks.
Right.
So they are spraying something periodically here that appears to me to be biologic.
And Rafiq, I know Rafiq. Rafiq?
Yes, how's it going, Paul?
How are you, my brother? How are you?
Well.
Good to hear you.
But I'm glad you mentioned about cleansing the blood.
Yes.
Because, well, in Chinese medicine, they do it quite often. And they do it according to changing with the season.
Yes.
Like in the spring, you clean the liver and lymphatic.
Yeah.
But see, that filters the blood. And in the summer, you clean the heart and circulatory system that circulates the blood. And then the fall, you clean the respiratory system, would oxygenate the blood. And then in the winter, you clean the urinary system, the kidney and urinary system, which filters the waste out of the blood. But every changing of the season, you're doing something to cleanse the blood.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. And
Thank you, Rafiq.
Thank you, Rafiq.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll be talking to you soon.
Okay. And yeah, as he said, we talk about it here on the Green Hour. Every change of season, that summer, winter, spring, and fall, you got to keep it moving, family. You got to get it moving. Cleanse. And he's right on point. Good, Mike.
One of the things I'm listening to, if they're spraying these chemicals and it weakens your immune system, people won't be able to fight off a common cold or a flu. I mean, there's really some implications here.
Yeah, I would believe that's the reason why we have such a rise in chronic conditions. Absolutely. Because really, when I sit down and whenever we have a one-on-one assessment and you look into the urine, and from that analysis, there's no nutritional value going on. It's amazing. We're literally surviving off of grace. I really do believe that.
Absolutely. I want to make a comment and get Russ's comment on this. On March 20th, my understanding is there's a National Action to End Chemtrails Day. March 20th of this year. Russ? Hello?
Yes.
You familiar with that?
Yes,
I saw that somewhere. There's a special day to take action.
Yeah, you're going to see people standing out on the street corners, and if you're wondering what it's all about, it's about this subject. So, get online, go to globalskywatch.com, get educated about the subject, and let's go out and join them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just add one more thing to say also. Russ, do you notice that in most cases it happens over populated areas during specific events? Would you notice that? Because here in Philadelphia, I've noticed over the years, whenever there was like a big parade or something, I always see a lot of lines right over the parade or over the schools and things like that. And I've really had major concerns about that. Now we're just sitting here talking, we're unfolding as we're sitting here at the window at the studio, and we have a St. Patrick's Day parade today, right? Is that
That's
correct?
Right, that's correct.
And that's all we see is lines over the sky, and they're happening right as we speak.
I have absolutely noticed that pattern, and because I can smell, I'm one of the 2% that can smell and taste them. I absolutely have noticed that during big outdoor events, holidays, Memorial Day, so on and so forth, they really hit hard. And so I've just gotten used to it. When those days come around, I get my wet mask out and prepare, because I know it's going to be bad.
Exactly. Russ, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Russ.
And do you have any closing comment? Because we are about out of time.
Well, thank you for covering this important subject. And And for people who want to detox aluminum, think about malic acid. Barium depletes potassium, which can lead to heart arrhythmias and heart attacks. So keep your potassium up. And please, everybody, take care of yourselves.
Great.
Yes,
Thank you so much,
absolutely.
Russ. Let me give you our phone number is 877-206-1550. You can get us. You can get Dr. Paul through that number as well. Coming up next is our radio activist, Michael Cord, with Radio Justice, Radio Courtroom. And we are rebroadcast every Thursday from 9 to 10. Thank the owners, the managers, and
Thank
the
you.
staff of WRD.
Yes.
Thank you. A pleasure to see you, Dr. Paul.
Thank you.
And thank you, family. Thank you, audience, for your support and for taking this critical information. See you next week.
God bless.
God bless.